How does proactive succession planning process differ to others?
The proactive succession planning process, I think probably for most people need to understand it's a very broad, holistic process for a start. As a business, we have to be across everything from a financial, legal, it's the technical side of all the things that people think about in succession. And I suppose a lot of people think about it is it's just about getting a will organised. But from our perspective, it really does start with an overarching view of, what is succession? Succession is about a continuity of business. That continuity of business requires a transition of people through what they do in that business. So it's the generational transfer in that context. It's management and who's in charge making decisions. It's about leadership, and ultimately it is about an estate plan. But within all of that, the estate plan, for a lot of people, they might think it's a quite simple process of the assets divide by the number of heads and you equalise it and you call that an estate plan. In the practical reality, that just doesn't work in an agricultural sense. We've often got quite high asset bases. The cash flows that come from those businesses are often not large. We obviously have a lot of risk and variability in those cash flows. So the challenge in succession is how do you equate what is something that is fair, that people can be comfortable around and have ownership of, where there's often a disproportionate outcome in terms of what the balance might look like. Because for most people, and that's those in the business and that's those outside the business, the need to want to see the business transition and to see the business move to the next generation, that's actually an inbuilt driver. And particularly for the incumbents, mums and dads, they also, that's their life's work, that's their passion, and they want to see that opportunity move forward as well. And we think about it, we're talking generational businesses, 6, 7 generations that we're up to. Some of them aren't as long. But I think from a proactive perspective, the fact we work with, in pairs, the fact we take into account all of these other aspects in terms of outcomes and solutions, it is not something you can do in a one-day process. It is not something driven by sort of the technical aspects of the outcome. Yes, we need agreements, we need finance structures and those, but sitting above all of that, it's about the people and it's about the business. And I think the difference for proactive, the process that we have, it engages the whole family in that process. We are very structured, I suppose, in terms of ensuring that the process and taking people through that evolution, it's actually what delivers the outcomes. Without that upfront process, that due diligence, that work, no one in any business should go into a room and tell somebody how they think something should happen because they're not informed. We also have to manage that in the context of the emotion that comes with what is this work. So balancing out the logical side versus that personal and that emotional side, it's really the egg and the flour in the mix. And if you can put those two things together and blend that well, then you've got outcomes. But I think the other key difference now in the business, and it's been an evolution of our business, is to also be able to implement and support the outcomes. So the best strategy in the world is great. The real value proposition and the transfer is actually implementing the changes. And so with our process today, we support that implementation process. We basically project manage the family to get them to the right technical advisors, the right solutions, the right outcomes that are in line with the overall strategy. And in that space, the doing piece and putting the rubber on the road, that's the real difference, I think, in what we deliver relative to anyone else in the marketplace.